welcome to another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric. It has been a couple crazy weeks since I last did a video, and boy has it been a fun roller coaster. I have been working really hard on some of my my fabric projects that I have planned for the holiday season. I finished up my hat project that I was making from the yarn that I spun up with the silk noils. It's been crazy. This week has included my biannual doctor's appointment and dentist appointment. It was also a good time to go and restock the pantry. Normally, most of the grocery shopping is done by my roommates. They tend to stick to the shopping list much better than I do. So they do most of the regular shopping. When my daughter eventually, her situation changes and she eventually moves out, then I'll go back to grocery shopping more often. But for now, it's good for her to have the practice. So it's good for me to stay home and do my stuff and not go to the grocery store. But I did go out this week. I picked up a bunch of the stuff that I need for some of the baking. I picked up this tree behind me because I kept thinking I wanted a Christmas tree in here. And then I thought, oh, when I saw this specific tree, I thought, you know, that makes me think a lot of fall as opposed to just Christmas. I clipped on some leaves. I'm hoping to make some other leaf-inspired or leaf-type ornaments that will go on. So I have something that is decorated in here October and November, and then it will switch up for the Christmas season. So it's been crazy. I wore myself out just a little bit. I got my flu shot. First time I've ever been really proactive and got it early on. The doctor offered it to me and I decided, you know, I'm not going to put it off. So I went ahead and got it. Glad that I did. But as usual, my body has a bit of a reaction to any shot that I get, and so I've been running a bit. My body's been saying that it thinks there's something wrong, so it's been running a bit of a fever for the last couple days. All normal and so much more proactive in going into the flu season. A number of years ago, I had a really bad case of the flu, and it taught me the flu shot was going to be a better option any day over getting a bad case of influenza. So it's not been the most productive fiber and fabric week. I've been working on my big quilts, but I'm hoping all of that will change in the next couple days because I am just so ready to start the construction of the tree skirt that I'm making for my son. So that's one of the projects that I will mention briefly, but it will be shown in probably the next video. For right now, the fabric project that I want to show off is the one that I did, I think it's been over a month now, but I was working on, if you remember, I was working on placemats that my daughter and I were going to do, and that is one of the placemats. It's been quilted. It might get a little more quilting before it's done. You might be able to see a little bit of the stitching on the back. I think it could be cute to have a little more stitching added to it. But that decision is going to be up to my daughter. This is the one that I've quilted. These are the ones she will be quilting. She might have them done for this Halloween, but she might not. We have placemats for the season right now, so it's not a rush, but I just thought she really liked the idea of these, helped me come up with the colors and the idea. So these will be for her when she eventually moves out again. Right now, her job and all of the crazy since she was evacuated from the Peace Corps, all of that lends itself to her staying here and still living with us. I am not complaining because although it does kind of, her bedroom and my sewing room are the same large room, it does, you know, make it so I have to share the space. She's becoming quite a good cook. So, and she's a great grocery shopper, so I'm not complaining. But I wanted to share these. So these, not the design, not the embroidery design, but the pattern for this placemat. For those of you who might be new to quilting or not know quilting, let me see if I can put that over here. The design for this, it's a log cabin block, but it's a log cabin block that's specifically called courthouse steps. And a little different than a standard log cabin block or courthouse step block. I wanted this to be rectangular. So these steps are wider than these. So the side steps are wider than the top and bottom steps. And that is what makes it easy to have the rectangular shape rather than the square shape. So I have put the pattern together in a really brief, simple pictured diagram showing how they're sewn together. And I will be posting that on my blog, probably within a few hours after posting this video. So check the description below, and it should have a link once I have that pattern available if you would like to have that. I'm pretty pleased with it. In fact, I'm so pleased with it. I'm using this same pattern and a variation of this pattern to do the tree skirt that I'm making for my son. It will be the tree skirt is going to be made up of 3 different types of log cabin blocks, as well as a 16 patch block. And I am working on having the quilting pattern, the patchwork, I should say, pattern, available to also be posted on my blog. So keep an eye out for the video that shows that one here probably in a month, and I will have that also available. The log cabin block, I'd forgotten until I did this placemat. I'd forgotten how much I really like doing log cabin blocks. The thing that I find sometimes interesting about them is when you're doing log cabin blocks, there's a number of variations that you can do. You can, as in this case, you can do the logs, because that's what these are. These steps are also the logs of the log cabin, and you can do them where they're all the same width. So the width here, the same width, or you can do these. I think were they finish at a 2-inch. These are sorry. These finish as a 1.5 inch. These finish as a 2-inch strip. So those widths can be done the same, or they can be done like this in the offset, the uneven, unmatching. There we go. Words. The unmatching widths. So the log cabin blocks can be a lot of fun. You can get a little variation just by switching small things up like that. But they are really wonderful to quilt to. They are strip piecing, in essence, type of quilts. It's really easy to stitch in the ditch. It's really easy to stitch down the center of the strip. It's a fun way to practice your hand quilting if you are not familiar with it. Of course, it can also be done by machine quilting, but I find them to be a very fun block. Sometimes a little interesting when you're trying to put them in an overall quilt, but to me, it's a fun block to construct. So my son is going to be getting a tree skirt that I'm basically making out of what is a log cabin quilt. It's just a log cabin quilt using 3 different types of log cabin blocks. So I'm looking forward to that. And when I started working on that project, I planned to use some purchased embroidery designs. I had all 4 of the rather dense and rather large embroidery designs stitched out, and I just kept going, no, for this specific fabric that I'm using, it just doesn't work. The fabric feels different than the designs. So instead, I went out and purchased some artwork and started digitizing. So stay tuned for that. But make sure to check the description box below and check out this log cabin pattern if you want to give a try for this placemat kind of concept. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about the placemat, you notice the back. It is not a solid color. And again, kind of a solid gray, whoops, where's the camera? Smoky kind of color, but not solid. And each one, in essence, ooh, I like that one. When I went to find the backing fabric, I wanted it to be a solid color, but I didn't want it to be a solid black. Because we have cats, because you're using them on the table, because black picks up lint, you want them to look clean. And oftentimes when you have fiber in your home, threads and stuff, sometimes that solid black, no matter how much you lint roll it, it will still look like it has little fuzzy things on it. So one of the things that I found, well, as we all know, when we put on black pants and we have a house with fiber or cats or thread, it never fails. It ends up on our black pants and everyone can see it. So I didn't want to use a solid black. So what I did is I took the black fabric and I bleached it. And that's how I got this kind of smoky color. Depending on how much bleach you put in it, it can get lighter, it can darken. Some of the fabrics may, depending on the fabric, you may end up getting some orange areas, depending on how much bleach. But all I did is I took my fabric, I put it in a bowl of hot water. I put in a couple, a quick glug of bleach. Depending on the amount of fabric, depending on the amount of water, it will really indicate how much bleach you want to do. This is something that is a trial and error. So if you decide to play with it, keep that in mind. Play with it, experiment with it. But it's a great way of getting backing fabric for something like these placemats where you don't want a solid color. You want it to hide, well, you want it to hide everything. Because it's going on your table, and I don't know about the rest of you, but you put it on your table in order to keep, in my case, I put it on the table in order to keep the tablecloth clean. If I have the placemat is what will get dirty first, and it will go in the wash, and I can keep the tablecloth clean. So I like placemats that help hide just regular lint and dust and cat hair and whatever else might be around. And then they go in the wash when they get obviously dirty, but they don't show all the lint. It's amazing to me how much lint a home gets when they have spinning going on and sewing going on, and it just is there. So that's just a tip and trick. You will find, as you make quilts and things like that, I find that solid fabric, regardless of the color, solid fabric has a tendency to show imperfection, whatever the cause of the imperfection. Whereas dyed fabric, or I should say modeled fabric, undyed, bleached, and tie-dyed, it tends to help soften the approach. So that's the effect, soften the effect of the design. So that's my little tip. Moving on to the fiber end, the video I did with the spinning wool and the silk noil. My hat turned out adorable. I used the white that I'm using here is actually a little quick spinning project I did in the video prior to it. I was finishing it up. It was made from roll logs that had silk sari waste in it. And when it came to finishing up and needing a pom-pom, it was the perfect fiber to use to go along with this. But the white is only used in the pom-pom. The rest is all from just the way I spun that yarn. And I will show a picture here of the hat in different lighting on my head, but I love it. It is soft, it's scrunchy. I have not written this pattern up. It is a type of hat that I've done numerous times. There's a trick to it I'll just quickly mention. What I do is I cast on enough stitches for the circumference of my head, okay? Depending on the yarn, it will take more or less stitches. This yarn needed, I think it was 88 stitches, and I then did a 2x2 rib. I did about, so I just cast on the circumference for my head, which I have a cable needle that's just the length I need for a hat. So I just usually put enough stitches on it for that cable. I did a 2x2 rib for about 2 to 2.5 inches. Yeah, that's about 2.5 inches. Then I switched to a larger needle because I use an interchangeable needle. So I'll go with a smaller needle, switch to the 2 sizes larger needle, do the equivalent. So here's my rib. I'll do the equivalent number of knit stitches in the round. Then the key to this hat is once you get past the brim portion, once you get past this portion of the knit only, I do some increases. Excuse me, I have fall allergies. So once I get to past that knit section, the trick that I do for this hat is I will increase doing your favorite type of increase, yarn over or whatever. I will increase either every other stitch or every 4th stitch. Basically, either doubling or whatever the math is, increasing the number of stitches dramatically all in one round. So I'll go the whole round doing a set of increases. I have done the every other stitch, and oh my goodness, that can be, if you're doing a fine gauge yarn, that can be a ton. The thicker the yarn, really the less increases, the thicker the yarn, the more increases per stitch you would need, I guess. A thin yarn, you could probably only increase every 4, 5, 6, and you'd be fine. But, so the way I do this hat, as I said, I do the ribbing, I do a series of the knit stitches, and then I do one round of a ton of increases. And in this case, as I said, I did an increase every 4th stitch. Then all you have to do is knit, 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 go in the circle as many inches as you need for it to get up. You put on, get up over the top of your head. Once you get it to the top of your head so that it now clears your head, I separate all of the stitches, whatever number of stitches I have, I separate it into 6 sections, putting on markers, and then I just do a decrease before each marker until it's ready to close at the top. Really simple, fun pattern. I know that for a beginning knitter, they might be completely confused as to what I'm talking about, but for those of you that have been knitting a little bit longer, you will know what I've just described is just really simple. So, cast on, knit, 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 increases, knit, 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 decreases, and you're done. And it makes for just the funnest hat. So, depending on the stiffness, I mean, you could wear it like this, okay? You could just let it flop in the back, or, as I kind of like it, you can have it flop on the side. And voila, you have a hat. And the pom-pom You know, you can put a pom-pom on it, you can put a tassel on it, and have fun. So it was a very fun project. I'm so glad that I did the spinning project and shared that with you all. So there's the hat. And that is actually the update that I wanted to bring to you. Yeah. So gonna go back to the craziness of my life, and I think that's about it. I'm gonna pause here for a moment and see if I've forgotten anything. Check my check my list. So hold on just a second. I'll be right back. So yes, it appears I have covered all of the updates that I wanted to, and now I just want to take a moment to cover a couple little items. One is that I wanted to thank the people who have been watching my videos and reaching out to me, whether it is through the comments here on YouTube or on Facebook, or my Instagram. I just really get such joy knowing that my little videos have somehow touched your life. At the end of the day, when I find that just even one person has received a moment of joy or peace, or if I've helped them unwind, or have inspired them to try something new, it really helps me have the energy not just to do more of the videos, but have the energy to get through the things that in my life can sometimes be stumbling blocks. I have been crazily doing digitizing of the embroidery designs for my son's tree skirt. After having done the Halloween designs, I thought, well, I'll just use the purchase designs and make it a little easier on myself. And of course, I didn't do that. And it does, it takes these kind of things, when you purchase something from a designer, keep in mind, even with all the technology we have today, it is still work. It is still something that takes effort. It is not good designs, whether it is a quilt design or whether it is an embroidery design or artwork that you're purchasing. Good designs, they do take work. They take a physical toll. And it is something that we do need to actually appreciate. And that means not complaining so much about the price that they ask us to pay if we're purchasing the things, giving credit where credit's due. I try to always do that when possible. Post in my description who's inspired the art, where it's come from. It's such an important thing. And when I was doing the digitizing for my son's son's tree skirt, I was done with about half of the designs, and I decided I needed to help my husband and my daughter with some yard work outside. And yeah, sometimes my head and my feet don't coordinate with each other. They don't talk, and I ended up tripping, and I ended up falling, and I messed up my arm just a little bit. And of course, it's my dominant arm, and it's the one that I use the mouse when I'm putting together patterns using the computer. So it was a great reminder of how easy it is to lose the ability to do something that you could do even the day before. So I shout out to give a shout out to all of the other designers and people who contribute to this wonderful fiber arts community in whatever way they do so. I so greatly appreciate the effort they do, the patterns that they make, the work that they put into it, the test knitters and test sewers. It is such a fun world to belong to, but it's one that oftentimes we don't appreciate enough the people who are doing the work. And I know that with the way my body rebels against me all the time, I don't even need to fall down and hurt myself to be hurt some of the times. I get reminded frequently how these things we love to do, they are physically challenging, and they take a toll on our body, and we need to take care of ourselves. We need to do a good effort to do that. And so I advise you, if you are someone who is watching this and you are working on a project and you start to feel a little achy and you start to feel a little sore, give yourself a chance to recover. Take care of yourself. Love yourself. Be kind to yourself. No matter how much you want the project finished in time, believe me, you also want your body to cross the finish line with you. You don't want to be laid up. I am the worst at actually doing this. I made a sweater for my son that a number of years back, I made a sweater for my son that I processed. I carded the wool, blended it with Angora, spun it up, and knit it all in a 30-day time period. And I had to tape all my fingers with athletic tape to be able to continue holding the needles. I had blisters from the carding. I was so determined to have that sweater done and send it to him for his birthday that yes, I looked like an athlete. I always laugh. I said, I look like those volleyball players that you see that their fingers are all taped up. And there are times when we do silly things like that because we love the people that we want to give the gift to. But it catches up to us. In my case, it gets to catch up to me long before it should. I'm not sure how long it's going to be before my right arm feels good again, but I am doing my very best to recover, and I'm doing my very best to be kinder to myself than I was in my youth. And that is what I want to share with you here at the end. Be kind to yourself and be appreciative to those who are helping you, whether it's through patterns or inspiration. Be kind and appreciative as we go into this season of autumn, as we get nearer to the holidays in which we are supposed to reflect on what we are grateful for. Be kind and appreciative. Most importantly, be kind and appreciative to your own physical ability. Because as important as that project is to get done, what is more important to the people in our lives that love us is that we are feeling less, not more pain. So, take the time. Get yourself some ice packs. Get yourself some heating pads. Whatever it takes, but take the time to use them. Take the time to stretch. Get up from the spinning wheel. Get up from the sewing machine. Take up some yoga, even if it's chair yoga. Up and down and stretch. Do take care of yourself. Go into this frantic but fabulous season of crafting with that in mind. Be kind and appreciative to the most important person in your life, you. Because everyone who receives the hat, or the placemat, or the tree skirt, or the ornaments, or the sweater, they will be so much more grateful, so much more filled with joy if, when you give them the gift, they can actually hug you because you don't hurt so much from having overdone it that they are afraid to touch you because they're afraid you're going to break. I know a number of you that follow my blog understand what I'm saying. Sometimes our bodies do not cooperate, and even our best efforts cause us difficulty. But if we remember to be kind to ourselves and appreciate those who help us with our endeavors, we will hopefully find a little bit better pace, a little bit better comfort, and a lot more unwinding rather than tensing up as we work with our fiber and fabric. So blessings to you all, and we will see you again in a few weeks with another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric.